Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, the home for every passionate Detroit Lions fan who's hungry for the real inside scoop. You already know, around here, we don't just skim the surface. We dive deep into every move, every rumor, every player, because if you love this team the way we do, you know that every single decision matters when you're chasing greatness. And today, we've got something special to break down. We're talking about a player who might just be the biggest wild card in Detroit's 2024 draft class. A player who, if everything clicks, could not only become a core piece of this defense, he could become a star. I'm talking about none other than Oregon's defensive end, Jordan Burch. Now, look, when the Lions selected Burch, there were a lot of mixed reactions. Some fans were hyped, seeing the upside. Others were a little skeptical, maybe because Burch wasn't a huge name on the national radar like a Jared Verse or a Lida Latu. But if you peel back the layers, if you really study the tape, listen to the scouts, and understand what Detroit is building here, the move starts to look a lot more exciting. Let's start from the beginning. Jordan Burch's journey to the NFL wasn't the usual straight shot. Coming out of Hammond School in South Carolina, he was a five-star recruit, one of the highest-rated defensive players in the entire country. We're talking about a kid who could have gone anywhere. Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, you name it. He chose South Carolina, wanting to stay close to home. Right there, you get a glimpse into his character, loyalty, family-first mentality. Traits that fit perfectly with what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes preach in Detroit. At South Carolina, Burch showed flashes early, but it wasn't until he transferred to Oregon for his final collegiate season that he really started to put it all together. Under Dan Lanning's defensive scheme, a guy who helped build that Georgia Bulldogs monster defense, by the way, Burch began to unlock his potential. He finished his senior season with 8.5 tackles for loss, for sacks, and numerous pressures that don't even show up on the stat sheet but completely disrupted opposing offenses. Now, let's talk about the athleticism, because it's freakish. This is a man who moves like someone 30 pounds lighter. 20.75 miles per hour on GPS tracking. For a 280-pound human being, that's like if a Ford F-150 could suddenly run a 4.440-yard dash. Add in a 35-inch vertical, 685-pound squat and deadlift numbers, and you start realizing this guy wasn't built, he was engineered for destruction. And sure, critics will point to the lack of combined numbers, the injuries late in the season, but when you watch Burch at full health, the explosiveness off the line, the ability to dip and bend despite his size, the sheer violence with his hands, it's all there. What he needs, and what he's about to get in Detroit, is NFL-level coaching to polish the details. Fine-tune the pass rush plan. Sharpen the counters. Teach him how to set up offensive tackles instead of just trying to overpower them every snap. And here's the thing, he landed in the perfect situation to do exactly that. Think about it. Across from him, you've got Aiden Hutchinson, one of the most technically sound young defensive ends in football. Hutch is a relentless technician. Every day in practice, Burch will be watching, learning, absorbing from a player who made the same college to NFL leap and thrived. Inside, you've got Ala McNeil, anchoring the middle with insane strength. Add in players like Marcus Davenport and John Kaminsky rotating through, and suddenly, offenses can't just slide protections wherever they want. You have to account for multiple threats, and that's going to create one-on-one opportunities for Jordan Burch to feast. And let's not forget about defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Glenn has a history of getting the absolute best out of young, athletic defenders. Look at the transformation of the Lions' secondary last year. Look at how he developed players like Kirby Joseph and Aiden Hutchinson. Glenn isn't just installing a scheme, he's building a culture of attack, aggression, and versatility. Which brings us to something crucial. Jordan Burch fits the Lions' evolving defensive identity perfectly. This isn't 1990s, line up and hope you win football anymore. It's about confusion, versatility, creating mismatches, disguising coverages, showing one thing pre-snap and doing another post-snap. Burch's ability to line up anywhere from a 5 technique to a wide 9 and even kick inside on passing downs gives Glenn a chess piece he can move all over the board. Imagine a 3rd and long situation. Hutchinson on one edge, Burch on the other. McNeil crashing the middle. Brian Branch blitzing from the nickel. Linebackers mugging the A-gaps. Where does the offense even start? Who do you double team? Someone's going to come free, and Burch is explosive enough to be that guy who blows up the play. And if you zoom out even more, this pick speaks to something bigger happening in Detroit. Brad Holmes isn't just building a roster. He's building layers of talent, depth, contingency plans. If someone gets hurt, next man up. If someone needs a rest, no problem. If they want to unleash a NASCAR package with pure speed on passing downs, now they can. It's about building a complete team, and Jordan Burch is another brick in that foundation. One thing that's important to mention is the mental toughness Jordan Burch brings to the table. Playing at a program like Oregon, dealing with coaching transitions, system changes, and high expectations, Burch had to learn resilience. He had to adapt fast. That mental toughness, the ability to block out noise, stay focused, and keep improving, is one of the most underrated traits when scouting NFL prospects. In Detroit, where grit defines the entire identity of the team, Burch's battle-tested mentality is going to help him fit in seamlessly. And let's not forget, Jordan Burch isn't walking into a situation where he has to save the defense single-handedly. That's crucial. The Lions don't need him to be the savior right away. They need him to develop, contribute, and eventually become a difference maker. That slow-burn development path is something the best franchises, like the Ravens, Steelers, and 49ers, have mastered. Detroit is now following that same blueprint. Draft traits, coach them up, trust the process. It's smart, it's sustainable, and it's exactly how you build a team that contends not just for a year, but for a decade. And hey, here's another thought. Sometimes it's not the top 10 picks who become legends. Sometimes it's the day 2 guys, the ones who had to scrap, develop, and grow into greatness. Think about where Max Crosby was drafted. Think about where Danielle Hunter came from. Those weren't sure things on day 1. They became stars because they had the tools, and they found the right environment to thrive. That's exactly the position Jordan Burch is stepping into right now. Will there be growing pains? Sure. Every rookie defensive lineman has them. Will there be moments where Burch looks raw or gets overwhelmed by veteran offensive linemen? Of course. That's part of the process. But the upside? If this coaching staff can unlock even 80% of his athletic potential, if Burch stays healthy and learns the nuances of pass rushing at the NFL level, we could be looking at a Pro Bowl level player by year 2 or year 3. And if he hits 100% of his ceiling, he might not just be a Pro Bowler, he could be a game wrecker. A player who changes playoff games. A player who swings Super Bowl runs. A player who gets remembered when they hang banners. That's the potential that's on the table right now. And as a Lions fan, how can you not be excited about that? So now I turn it over to you. What do you think about the Jordan Burch pick? Do you see the flashes of greatness? Or are you more cautious, wanting to see results before you get too hyped? Where do you think he fits best in Aaron Glenn's system? Base defensive end, NASCAR inside pass rusher, rotational piece early on? Let me know down in the comments. I'll be reading everything, replying, and maybe even featuring some of your takes in the next video. This is your channel too, and your voice matters here. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive breakdown, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. We're building something special here, just like the Lions are, and we're just getting started. Thanks for riding with me today. You already know the drill. One pride, always, forever. Go Lions!